We are very excited for our next speaker. Please welcome the president of Exiger, Carrie Wibben.
Okay. All right, everybody hear me okay? It's a lot of noise competition. I will try to speak loudly. All right, I'm gonna spend, actually I'm gonna do a condensed version of this because I want everybody at 3 o'clock, if you're interested, to head over to the South Stage. Our CEO is giving a really cool talk on American ingenuity and global advantage. So I'm competing with my boss right now, so I'm gonna do a short version so I don't steal any of his stage time. So a little about me. I'm going to talk about just kind of the evolution of my career and kind of how it led me to Exiger and what we do at Exiger that's obviously incredibly AI-centric. I wish we had time for questions, but I will be around so everybody can kind of follow me or find me and ask any questions you have. So 26 plus year career, the first 10 years, West Point grad, Army officer, spent my initial part of my career in uniform and was very fortunate to find my purpose and find my why very early. I grew up on a small farm, small town farm girl from Iowa, and ended up at West Point and really quickly connected with this passion that I had for defending and protecting, the greatest nation on earth. And that has been my constant over the past 26 years of my career. I was able to evolve that into a government career I very quickly rose up to the rank of senior executive where I led the largest counterintelligence security organization in the world, the Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency, 14,000 person agency. I also was the head of counterintelligence and security for the entire Department of Defense, which is about half the federal government. So I spent about 5 years in the Pentagon and like to think, we did a lot of good things for the mission in terms of advancing and bringing technology into the mission. That's really where my recognition for the desperate need and lack of technology in the counterintelligence with the national security mission writ large kind of hit home. I was read into every counter-espionage investigation that the FBI had open on DoD. And where do you think those investigations were focused? They were focused on intellectual property theft from the defense industrial base, right? So that really was this moment in my career where I realized there was going to be no difference made whatsoever in this fight, really the biggest fight of our generation from a national security standpoint, unless we figured out how to leverage advanced technology and artificial intelligence the same way our adversaries were leveraging it against our national interests, right? They were deploying very advanced AI and other technology to understand and map our supply chains and our intellectual property better than we knew it ourselves. We were not tracking it, we were not tracing it, we did not know where our intellectual property was flowing, and therefore we were not controlling it and we were not protecting it. And that's how our adversaries, namely China, was stealing it blind. We were robbing us blind before we even knew these incredibly sensitive pieces of information that were really the secret sauce to our competitive advantage as a nation. That is what was happening in droves, and we were not even playing defense, much less playing offense, right, from a national security standpoint. So that actually is what eventually led me, after a 20-plus year career in military and government, to Exiger, because I was their first federal client when I was running a defense agency, and I was looking for the most advanced artificial intelligence in the market that could help me solve this problem, or at least put some real technology in the fight on Team USA, right, on the good guys' side. So that is really how I ended up coming to Exiger, because I saw the tools, I saw the technology, I saw the AI work in support of my mission at DCSA, the Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency. And it blew me away. It was head and shoulders, light years ahead of anything else in the market that I had seen. And so they really weren't focused on the federal government and the public sector as a business focus. So I came to Exiger in 2019 to stand up the federal practice where we now have over 60 government agencies that use our technology for use cases around risk management, supply chain, vetting, supplier mapping, and really helping us get that deep visibility into our supply chains so that we understand where that intellectual property is flowing, where we have dependence, all the way down to raw materials. On China, as everyone knows, that's a little bit of a problem right now, right? Our dependence on China for raw materials, they have us in a vice grip, right? And it is giving us, we're frankly having a very hard time navigating that because we have so much dependence. So that's a little bit about just kind of the history of my career and how I ended up here, but how hopefully you see I'm very, very, connected to my why and my purpose still. Every single day I wake up, I know that what we're doing is deploying technology and helping put points on the board for Team USA and the good guys, and I feel that purpose every single day, and I know my team does too. A number of them are in the audience. So if you have any questions there about who we are, what we do, please feel free to ask me or any of them. I'm going to just shift a little bit. I know I don't have a ton of time, but to talk about how AI, is really the risk landscape having evolved, having changed fundamentally, certainly from the time I launched my career in national security to where it is today. Our adversaries no longer need to engage us kinetically to threaten our way of life, right? The risk landscape is diffuse. It is diverse, it is incredibly difficult to get a full perspective on, and that is largely what we deploy our technology to do. AI is the only scalable response to that incredibly complex problem. So career impacts, right? What is AI doing to the workforce? How is it changing the workforce and how we work? It's not just changing tools and technology, it's changing people fundamentally. It's changing all of us. We have risk analysts who are now evolving into insight curators, right? Being able to mine the rich insights that artificial intelligence can provide us to inform that analysis and then recommendations. Security professionals who are actually now evolving into proactive risk managers who are staying ahead of the threat, monitoring their entire ecosystem for any threats that might emerge proactively, left of boom, so that we can get ahead of them and they can do the proper alerting and put in the proper mitigations before you have a crisis of the day, right? That's what how AI is helping evolve compliance professionals. Policy and ops leaders. I really think, I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I really think some of the most effective leaders and professionals today have incredible range, right? They can understand, for me, right? I grew up in the policy world. I understand how this town works. I can write legislation. I have written legislation, executive orders. I worked at OMB. I know the budget process. And I know the Pentagon. I know how to get things done. But I was not a technologist. I have evolved and learned that tradecraft, right? That skill. And that, honestly, is what makes me so effective at my job. So that range is critical. Our CEO, Brandon, who's going to be on South Stage in just a few minutes, has that range. He can code. He can go give a strategic talk at Davos, right? That range is really, really critical for leaders and professionals in today's workforce and going forward. Has anyone seen the Elon Musk Instagram like we're all going to be house cats? Has everybody seen that, right? That's kind of where AI is taking us. We're all going to be house cats. And he's like, not looking forward to being a house cat. Maybe one day. I think really where we're headed is, this collaborative reality between humans and machines. And that is incredibly powerful. It's going to allow us to make better decisions so much faster than we ever thought possible. And that's really kind of the next stage of AI, I believe. Again, better decisions faster. A couple examples I was going to give that I don't have time for, but I spent a lot of time in my past life standing up insider threat programs for the Department of Defense and cleared industry. And one of the biggest challenges is data, right? And whenever there was an insider threat, I worked Manning, Snowden, WikiLeaks, the Washington Navy Yard shooting, if you all remember that, 2013 timeframe. whenever we would do a postmortem, an after action on an insider threat issue, we would always see there was something we missed, right? There was some precursor, some anomaly, some indicator that just somebody ignored, somebody didn't pick up on, and that really is a problem now that is so solvable with artificial intelligence, right? It can find those anomalies, it can detect them, but that doesn't mean we don't still need insider threat analysts or other risk managers focus on that problem. What it means is we can just allow those humans to focus on what to do about those problems, about those anomalies that the AI is so good at detecting and flagging for us. That is an incredibly complex consideration. You're dealing with people who are very unpredictable, very complex, and there is a very wide range of options, especially given certain authorities, for what you can do when you think you might have an insider threat issue in your workforce, right? So that's really where we want our humans focused, is what to do, how to mitigate those risks, what is the appropriate response. That's really the piece that I think will continue, right, to rely on and necessarily rely on humans. AI will not replace that anytime soon. Talked about that. I talked a little bit, it's really, I think, I talked a little bit upfront about what we do at Exiger. Gartner just put out a Magic Quadrant, Supplier Risk Management Magic Quadrant, the first one. Exiger was top right market leader. Why is that? I believe for the last 6-7 years, what we have done uniquely is we have paired our technologists with tradecraft. We bring in those deep subject matter experts, right? Me, my background in counterintelligence, and we pair them with our technologists to make sure that our artificial intelligence is focused on solving the very mission-specific use cases and challenges that our clients are facing. It is not just AI for AI's sake, and anybody out here who's saying they do AI and they can't point to you to specific use cases and what problems they're solving with it, I would just be a little skeptical, right? Because the models have to be tuned and they have to be focused to be effective. That is what I think we have done for that really general space of supplier risk management better than anyone, and it's something that we're incredibly proud of. So we can cover a very wide range of supply chain risk, all kinds of things that are really heavily obfuscated and hard to see. We have tuned our models and our algorithms to focus and detect those things very rapidly, and again, go very, very deep into supply chains, all the way down to raw materials, decomposing parts, understanding dependence on a particular raw material for a particular part that ends up in the F-35, right? Just as an example. So you understand when China bans certain raw materials, what does that mean to the warfighter, to our weapon systems and platforms, very specifically, and when will that impact them and our ability to keep those weapon systems in the fight? So I could talk for days. I'm going to actually close. I know I went 20 minutes. I would love everybody, if you don't have anything to do or you don't want to listen to the next one, to head to the South Stage. It's going to be a fascinating talk at 3 o'clock. So I think we actually might have started. I think I hear my boss right now talking. So South Stage, that guy in the blue suit can lead you over there. But thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Let's hear it.